going to talk about my topic for today, which is becoming that woman. That is the power of reinventing yourself before life forces you to reinvent yourself. Okay, so reinvention is not pretty, it is the act of completely remaking or transforming something so that it appears brand new. Social media has fooled us into thinking that transformation happens overnight. We see a successful business and then we think it happened in 1 year. So I actually started in 2018 and we are in 2026. So I would say it has taken me almost 8 to 10 years to achieve this feat. Okay, we see a confident woman and then we assume that she has always been that way, but reinvention just looks more like a beginner struggling to do certain things over and over and over and over again until that person becomes perfect. All right, so in order for me to reinvent myself, I have to become limitless. And what does that mean? That simply means that with every single challenge I face, I kept on believing in myself that this could work regardless. Okay, so now L for, I'm going to just explain what limitless means. LIMITLESS. So L simply means continuous learning, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So in order for you to get to where you want to get to, you need to learn so many different things. You need to wear so many different hats. And how do you learn? You learn by reading books, listening to podcasts, just making sure that you have that wealth of knowledge, because you need that. Okay. And then the second is I, being intentional. Being a fashion designer taught me how to be extremely intentional, because as a designer, you have to pay attention to the tiniest details. It could be loose thread, it could be the fitting, it could be a zip bulging out, and you don't want to make clothes for people that would complain at the end of the day. Okay, so being intentional simply means you need to have clear priorities. Whatever it is that you want to do, you prioritize the one that is of utmost importance. You make decisions consciously and you don't just make decisions just like that. You think clearly before you make decisions. You set boundaries. By setting boundaries, you need to learn how to say no to distractions, because even at the time when I started my business, I didn't have the support that I needed. Even when people, friends were saying, oh, why are you doing this? This is not the path I think you should follow. I decided not to pay attention to the distractions, and here I am today. Okay, so now M means motivation. Okay, for you to be highly motivated, you need to know your why. That is, you need to know the reason why you are doing this. Motivation becomes stronger when you have a clear purpose behind what you are doing. If you don't have a clear purpose behind what you are doing, distractions, failures, you're going to experience setbacks, which will make you give up at the end of the day. Okay, so setting clear, realistic goals, taking actions when you don't even need to be motivated, and that's where discipline comes in. Discipline just simply means doing the same thing even when you feel tired. It's like, for example, now going to the gym. People that go to the gym every day, it's not because of, oh, they like going to the gym. They want to achieve a particular goal, which is to lose weight. And you cannot achieve that particular goal without cutting down on your diet or doing cardio exercises that will help you lose weight. So you have to discipline yourself enough, because it's not something easy to do. And once you have that innate discipline, you can be easily motivated. You won't wait for anybody to come and motivate you or tell you, oh, come and do this or come and do that. All right. And being motivated comes with consistency. Like they say, little drops of water makes an ocean. So if you are really, really consistent about doing little, taking little steps every day, whether you feel like it, whether you don't feel like it will help you become motivated to do what you want to do. Okay, and then I means implementation. I always tell my students that knowledge is not power. Instead, applied knowledge is power. Because let me give you an example. Let's say Miss A and Miss B, they learned a particular skill, and Miss B decided not to do anything about that knowledge or that skill that she has learned, and she just keeps it aside, waiting for the perfect moment to bring out that skill. But however, Miss A is very, very intentional about doing some certain things to keep practicing every day. So if you don't apply what you've learned, like all the speakers that are here today that have said one or two things, if you don't apply what they've said, you are really not going to go anywhere. Okay. Then T for limitless means time management. Earlier on during my career, I actually struggled with managing my time because I would say I'm a perfectionist. I like things to be done a certain way. So even if they don't, even if um I've gotten to where I want to get to, but it's not the way I want it to be. I would not want to proceed until it's being done this exact way I want it to be done. Okay. So and sometimes you need to manage your time because while you are waiting for perfect moments, waiting for things to be done a certain way, someone else can actually come and do that particular design that you want to create, and you'll be like, wow, I've been thinking of this design for a very long time, and here I am today. Okay, so you need to be able to manage your time properly. Okay, because time is your most valuable asset. Everybody has 24 hours in a day, but how you use your time is what will determine the outcome that you want to produce. Okay, so prioritize on what matters most. Focus on important tasks, not just the urgent tasks that you need to focus on. Important tasks, the one that is, or I would just say, the task that would income producing tasks. Okay, then create a schedule. I do this a lot. Have a to-do list. Set your priorities, set your goals, know what you want to accomplish at the time that you want to accomplish that particular goal. And a lot of people, they set goals and they don't put a date of completion. Like for example, now DME that was on stage here, he talked about the goal that he set and he put a time to it, or you put an amount or whatever it is that you want to set. Because by setting your goal and putting a timeline or putting an amount or putting or being clear, I think that's the word, clarity. Once you are clear on what you want to achieve, your brain will keep, your subconscious mind will keep reminding you that, oh, you need to get this thing done. By dates, I mean if you want to achieve that goal in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, in 4 years' time, or even in 1 month. Like I wanted to learn fashion while I was still in school because I knew that if I'd left school, I won't be able to do what I want to do because distractions will come here and there. Okay. So avoid procrastination. Procrastination is the thief of time. So instead of not doing anything at all, just start with one particular task and finish it to the end. Also, learn to say no. Some of us don't know how to say no. You can say no without hurting people's feelings, especially when you know that it is not going to help you, especially when you know that it's not going to help you achieve your goal. Okay. And then we have L stands for limiting belief. So a lot of people don't understand what limiting beliefs is, or they don't even know that they have limiting belief. Limiting belief is, or rather, you need to be aware of your thoughts or of the certain thoughts that holds you back. Because regardless of whatever it is that you want to do today, even though you want to, if you want to be a doctor, or you want to be a pharmacist, or you want to be an engineer, or you want to be an actor or an actress, there will always be that limiting belief. You always keep doubting yourself. Okay, can I do this? Can I? What if something happens? What if I fail? What if nobody takes me seriously? Okay, so you need to identify what are these limiting beliefs. How often did they happen? Do they come from past experience or from fear or from criticisms? And then again, you need to learn to challenge negative thoughts. And by doing that, you need to surround yourself with like minded people, people that want to achieve the same goals that you want to achieve. Because at a particular time, while I was building up my career, I had to become friends with pharmacists too, as well, and fashion designers too, as well. Okay, I had to become friends with them. Why? Because I wanted to learn a thing or two, what they are doing. You know, I wanted to tap in from their wealth of knowledge. So surrounding yourself with like-minded people that have the same goals that you want will help you get to where you want in life. Then E stands for emotional intelligence. Okay, emotional intelligence is the ability to manage and express your emotions while also understanding and relating well with the emotions of others. I think having emotional intelligence is one skill that would help to shape your life in the future, because a lot of people, their emotions are all over the place. They don't know how to control their emotions. They can be overly excited. They can be really, really angry and frustrated. It could also affect your relationship with people. Someone might do something very little to you, and next thing you're flaring out, you're shouting, you're you know throwing tantrums and all that. But knowing how to manage your emotions, you can call that person out and talk to the person calmly. Oh, this thing you did to me, I didn't really like it. Please don't do it again and things like that. Or trying to put yourself in that person's shoes to understand why that person behaved the way they behaved. Okay, so I think it's something that we need to be aware of. And um, emotional intelligence comes with self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy. Because once you understand and appreciate the feelings of others, irrespective of their background, you'll be able to communicate effectively with them without having issues. Emotional intelligence also comes with emotional responsibility, taking ownership for your actions. The person might have offended you. You too might have always also been offended by the person, but because of your lack of emotional skills or intelligence, you might begin to blame the person or blame shift instead of taking ownership for the things that you did. Okay, that's what E stands for. Then S stands for self-awareness. Okay, S stands for self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to understand who you are, recognize your emotions, your thoughts, your behaviors, your strengths, your weaknesses, and how they influence your decisions and your relationships. And to be very honest, sometimes we don't really know who we are. That's the truth. We don't really know you don't really know who you are. Knowing who you are comes from actually studying your behavior. That's why you hear people say, why are you lying to yourself, or why are you not being honest with yourself? Because for you to be honest with you will know that this particular thing also. That's why, let me give an example. I think I'm going out of the box, but let me just give an example. Let's say, for example, now, addicts, drug addicts, right? They know that that particular drug that they are taking is bad for them. They know they're going to have adverse effects to that particular drug, but they are taking it regardless because of they're already addicted to it. And they're not self-aware to know that this particular thing that they are taking would affect them later in life. So knowing, being aware of your surroundings, the people around you, knowing the things to avoid will help you go a long way. Okay, it will help you recognize your emotions, understand your triggers, so that by the time people try to trigger you, you can try to walk away from that situation. It will help you understand your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay, it will help you even pay attention to your thoughts, because sometimes you might have bad thoughts or thoughts that you're not supposed to even have to start with. Okay, so being able to, and as you think, or rather as you think in your heart, so are you. All right, so you need to learn how to have good thoughts. Even when bad thoughts come to your mind, you can easily just try to wave it out or pray about it, and practice self-reflection. These are habits that would help you create self-awareness. And then the last S in limitless stands for self-care. Self-care is simply, some people call it being selfish, but caring for yourself is extremely important. It means prioritizing yourself without guilt, taking care of your health, eating well, physical exercise, being hydrated, even your mental health too. Creating time for yourself to relax, to unwind, to reduce stress. A lot of us, we work from morning till night, and we don't even try to like sit back to like refresh, re-energize, think about our mental health and things like that. Even your emotional well-being is extremely important. Okay. And also making time for activities that will bring you joy, engaging in hobbies, things that you like, surrounding yourself with positive people. By surrounding yourself with positive people, you are building relationship, because I mean no man is an island. So by practicing all these things I listed in Limitless, that is how you become the best version of yourself. Because the version of me standing here today did not exist years ago. It did not. I had to keep redefining, reinventing. Whenever I make mistakes, I try to correct my mistakes. I try to give in my best to become who I am today. So every risk I took, every setback I survived, every time I chose to continue instead of quitting, literally changed my life. And one thing I would say that passion has taught me is, or rather, one of the greatest lessons that passion has taught me is that whenever a particular garment doesn't fit properly, I don't throw it away. Okay, what do I try to do? I try to troubleshoot. I try to adjust. I try to alter the, because I mean, if you go to a tailor's shop or a fashion house to make a particular outfit, and then you put on that outfit, even you might not necessarily like the fit, but you won't just say, oh, I'm throwing this outfit away. That might be the last, except maybe you've tried all other alternatives. You hear people say, oh, I went to this place, they adjusted this, they did this, they did this, they did that, they did that, it didn't work. So I told her to leave the dress. But the first approach that you take is to find out where the problem is. You try to adjust the dress, you try to alter it, you try to like reshape it until it aligns, or rather until it becomes a beautiful outfit. So it's still the same thing I want you guys to take home today. So even when you make mistakes, or when things don't go right for a particular period of time, don't just give up and say, oh, you know what, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore. Rather, try to find out the problems that you might have encountered and try to solve those problems. Because even the beginner, every beginner that you see today, they were first, or rather, sorry, every beginner that you see today, or rather every master that you see today, they were first beginners. Okay, struggling to get everything right. It might be your career, it might be your relationship, it might be an old identity that you've outgrown. But whenever something does not fit, try to readjust until it fits. And if you've tried every possible means to make it work and it doesn't work, then you can say, you know what, I give up. I've tried every possible means. I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. Then you can give up. And even when you give up, you won't have that guilt that, oh, I gave up too easily. I didn't try my best. Why? Because you've tried every single thing you needed to do and it still did not work. So my advice for you guys today is that please don't wait for life to force you to transform yourself. Because if you wait for life to force you to transform yourself, you will realize that you've wasted so many times, so many years. And it doesn't still mean that you can't even continue. Because I've had people start up fashion careers at the age of 40, 50, and they are doing really well. Or it could be anything that you plan to do for yourself. Don't say, oh, it's too late, I'm too old to do this, nobody would want to. Don't wait for life to force you into that transformation. Don't even wait until you are burnt out before you make that decision. And don't even wait until regret becomes louder than your dreams and then it forces you to make that decision. So give yourself permission to evolve, because one day you wake up grateful that you chose yourself. And lastly, before I leave, when life leaves you no choice to become, the lady that you want to be, or the woman that you want to be, or the man that you want to be, the most important version of yourself is not the one that happened to you accidentally. Okay, it is the one that you intentionally chose to become. Thank you.